Hi everyone, you're listening to the Athlètes Mondiaux podcast. Athlètes Mondiaux is French for athletes of the world. I have a very special guest this week, the best 800 runner ever, the world record holder, David Rudisha. David is also a two-time Olympic gold medalist and two-time world champion in the 800. I met David at the World Indoors in Glasgow, where he was the ambassador for the competition. In this episode, David told me about his love for the 800 and about his world record race at the London Olympics. I asked him if he thought he owed his talent to his dad, who won a silver medal in the 4x4 at the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City. I also asked David if he wished he'd won a third consecutive gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics. You're listening to the original interview in English, but if you understand French better than English, the interview is also available dubbed in French. Enjoy! Hello, David. Thank you for giving me a few minutes of your very precious time. I appreciate it. We are here in Glasgow at the World Indoors. You are the ambassador for this competition. What is your job, your role all about here?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm really glad, to be here as an ambassador for World Athletic Indoor Championships, Glasgow 2024. It's really a great opportunity, to be here, to interact, with the fans, and of course, to promote our sports and to encourage, young people to engage themselves in sport.
And we are here in the UK where people love track and field. I'm sure a lot of people recognize you here. What do they tell you when they see you?
Well, people are very, very nice, very kind, I am so impressed the way they love and they follow athletics. And whenever I'm out there, they come, they appreciate. Most of them remember London 2012, the race. And it's amazing, when you hear them talking about it. And it's just like it's still fresh in their memory. And they say, yes, London was very special. And most of them, we take photos. And it's amazing sometimes, when you go somewhere and you don't know how people follow you on social media. They even tell you they watch my race several times. So I feel like most of the time people talk about London 2012, and that's reminded me that London was very special.
Yeah. What I love the most about your world record race is that it was quite unusual, but most people were happy at the end of the race because everybody set a PB or national record, or that was a very special race for so many people.
Yes, I know, and I sometimes go to the YouTube and watch that race, and all I can, tell myself is that there's no other courageous race I've ever run in my life like London 2012. Despite being the final of Olympic, whereby the priority was to win gold, but in my case, I decided to do, to go fast, and perhaps that was my better chances of winning. So I knew I had a plan before the competition, but yes, my plan was not actually to break the world record, but perhaps I was thinking to go something like 141. But to break the world record was something special. It was just the icing on the cake.
So I told you before we started recording, I'm from France. I have a podcast, and a few months ago, I interviewed our national record holder in the 800, Pierre Wasbos, and he told me about you and about how much he feels like he and other guys from the same generation owe you. He said David was the only reason we were able to run that fast, because he was almost like a pacer to us. Because you were that fast, running in the front, and they just try to follow, and it worked a lot of times. Are you aware of that? That you helped so many guys set PBs or national records?
Well, yes. During my time when I was really active, I took most of my races courageously, even when I was not at my best. And, the first lap, I always try to go fast and see how best I can do. And through that, at some point when I was not at my best, but I tried to cross the 600 as very fast. So at some point I was there a bit. But you see, in most of the competition, I was always building up towards something. Every time I lose, I know I'm targeting something in the front. And if you see my second Olympics in Rio, It was also very fast. I think it was one of the second fastest winning time in any Olympic Games. So I was always working toward a certain ultimate goal, and that is winning the championship. I chose to be a front runner. Makes things very difficult and different. You can imagine in a major championship, I start running from behind. Other athletes might think maybe I'm confused or something like that. So I needed also to maintain my tradition of running from the front. And you see, in Diamond Leagues and other races, we have a pacemaker. But when it comes to championships, we don't have pacemaker. But I needed also to train for that so that I can still maintain my composure and run from the front and win races, which was very difficult. And it took also a lot of training and courage to do that. And I'm grateful because I was able to work my way and make things happen the way I was planning.
What do you want your legacy to be? What do you want people to remember from you? I know most people remember your world record race, but is there anything else you'd like to be remembered for?
Well, what I can say is that there's so many ways you can remember David. Whenever I'm out there, I get to meet young people who are very inspired by most of my competitions and my races. And it's always feel very special. And these are the memories we can leave behind, for many generations to come. Because nowadays we also have social media and internet, which actually inspire a lot of people.
Who did you learn from? Because I know your dad was an Olympic medalist. Did you learn a lot from him, from his experience?
Well, I must say that, yes, when I knew as a young person that my father was an Olympian, I knew that, yes, I have the genes. But also, when I was in high school and primary school, during school competition, I realized, yes, even if you have the genes, you can be beaten by the others. And I remember one time I was running the relay because my father was very good in the 4x4 100 meters relay. And I let down my team by giving the baton at the third position, and I finished fifth. And the guys were teasing me like, your father was good and you're not that good. And that really made me think a lot about that, and I started looking for someone who can coach me. And I met a young guy from our village who was also a Commonwealth champion by the name Stephen Olemarai. He was an African champion. He was running 800 meters, not Commonwealth. And he really assisted me in coaching because he was an 800 meter. And he was also doing 400 meters because my father was busy, with school. Sometimes it's hard to find him, and he was not actually focusing on coaching, but he was interested with sport. But Marai was easier to find, and he was flexible. He was free most of the time. So I asked for some advice from him, and the following year is when I started shining in high school. I was now the team savior. Even when I was given the baton almost toward the last, I can still make sure that I win the race. So it was really good to see, even when you have the talent, you still need to put a lot of hard work in it.
Yeah. Are there things you wish you'd known early in your career that you can maybe help the young generation with?
Well, we have so many talents, I know, and discovering and nurturing this talent is also a bit of a challenge. We come from different places, and like in my area we have only one camp, and it's not big enough to host these young guys. And the young people is where we focus, because it's much easier for us to identify talent when they are young, and when they start when they are young, it's much easier for them to maintain and even do better when they grow up with it. So our main focus is to focus on the young, especially in schools, to continue sports and athletics, because that is where young people get to interact, and they discover being better than the other easily, because they stay with their age and they play a lot, and it's much easier for them to discover if they are good in football, maybe in volleyball, in athletics, or any other sport. So sports in young age in schools, it's very, very important.
We've seen a lot of new records with the new shoes, but it feels like the men's 800 hasn't really been impacted by the new shoes. The best times ever are from before the new shoes. How do you explain that the new shoes haven't made any big difference in the men's 800?
Yes, I believe that innovation is taking our sport in a different level, and it's always good to see these technologies. Everybody want to see how these facilities can assist, and how they can prevent, for example, injuries, and how fast our athletes can run. Because I was seeing one of the spike that athletes used to run on in the 1960s, 1970, and if you see what the athletes are using now, there is a huge improvement.
Yeah.
And I think this is for the better, because also it's good for the athletes. It prevents their energy, and even sometimes you find the improvement can make them even go faster. And that's why we see so many records have been broken in the marathon, for example. Mm-hmm. But in the sprint, we haven't seen so much impact. I don't know why, but maybe the scientist knows about that. But 800 meters is one of the record that has been there for quite some time. Since 1981, when Lord Sepko broke the world record, only 3 people has been able to go below that record. And we have broken so many records in between, but it's less than 1 second. It's about 0.82 of a second. And we have so many record in between. So it tells you also 800 meters is a very tight world record.
I was surprised to hear you say in the press conference that you never raced indoors. And you even compared the indoor 400 to the outdoor 800 because it's 2 laps. What is it that you like so much about 2 laps?
Well, yes, watching indoor 400 is very interesting because it's just 2 laps. The way we memorize and we see the track is just like 2 laps. And the reason why I say that is one time I tried to run 1,000 meters. I only did once, 1,000 meters. And I'm telling you, the way I found it is I was disoriented. I didn't know where am I at a certain point, exactly what I should be doing. It's not like 800 meters. Mm-hmm. I mastered the 800 meters. I know after this 200, after that, this is how I'm supposed, But in 1,000, I was completely confused all the way. Mm-hmm. And then I just found myself, I'm approaching 100 meters. I'm not even moving fast. So I like that one because it's 2 laps. And all my life, 800 is a special race. So when I see something like 2 laps, yes, and also 400 is one of the other distance that is close to my heart.
Yeah, you were really good too in the 400.
Yes.
Why did you never race indoors? Because you strides for too long?
Yeah, I'm never really, we don't have this kind of facilities in Kenya, that's right. One. So we never had any opportunity to train on this kind of a facility. And then 2, also in my career, I had very sensitive ankles. And I thought because of the bend and the tight with the long stride and the bends, I didn't want anything to get myself into any problem. So I told my coach I will just train for outdoor. And like this time of the year, I used to go to Australia and do a few races just for the good for changes, and train there for a month and then come back.
Okay. One final question about injury. In Tokyo, you could have won a 3rd consecutive gold medal, which would have been unprecedented, I think. But you were dealing with injuries back then, and unfortunately, you were not able to end your career the way I guess you wanted to. Do you have regrets?
Injuries is part of our life as athletes. Athletes go through a lot, and it's very hard. I can tell you, injury can be tough. Remember way back in 2013, just after my great year after Olympics. I got injured in 2013, and it was very difficult, very hard for me, because at that time I had just done all my preparation. I was almost just ready. I just started my season around May. All the work I put from November all the way to May was just shattered, and I was feeling like, yes, I was really coming very nicely, that I'm going to be the reigning Olympic champion, and I was even expecting to do some other good fast races. But that was the time I felt it was very tough. But over the years, I've also went through so many up and downs with injuries, and I was really happy that I was able to defend my title in 2015 World Championships, because I had to miss again 2013 World Championship in Moscow. I just went and watched. It was very hard for me because I felt like I had everything to win that race. It was just like after 2012, I was the favorite actually, but I had to watch from outside because of an injury, and went through a keyhole surgery, and then built up. I came here to Glasgow Commonwealth Games. I was not at my best. I won a silver medal, and I built up 2015, winning the gold again in Beijing World Championship, and 2016. I felt like, yes, I'm grateful, I'm happy. I didn't just win Olympic once, twice. World Championship just not once. World record not once, twice, 3 years. So that's a great achievement. I am happy. I think I have achieved what an athlete will ever wish to do in his career, and everything else was just repeating. So I'm glad I have achieved that.
I love to hear that. Thank you so much. I want to be respectful of your time, so I will let you go and watch the evening session. Thank you so much. Is there anything you want to add?
No, thank you very much. It's been a very good interview.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And that's it for today. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you'd like to support the podcast, please check the link in the description. I'll be back soon with another episode. Bye-bye.